welcome. We appreciate you being here. This is for software and service agencies, project management, budget automation. All those things are huge and front of mind on all of these types of companies, and that's what we're made for. So the things that we're actually going to talk about in the next 45 minutes or so, and I'll apologize, we will go fast. So I'll try to keep the slides to a minimum because the software is the important part, and we'll have Tasha do that, and we'll introduce her in just a moment. So we'll cover some of the basics and show why we thought the product was necessary to help expand the functionality of Business Central. So some of the challenges faced by professional services companies, they are several and they are unique to you, and you're probably very aware of them, and luckily so are we. And we've talked and thought through how we can help those types of companies. We want to talk about the project accounting process and processes, the difference between doing it manually versus doing it in an automated fashion where we can save you time and hassle and money. And really that's the bottom line, is we're all trying to be profitable. We're trying to stay in business, and that's the whole reason we're here. So trying to make sure that we're keeping your processes as streamlined and as straightforward as we can so that there's little time involved, little error, and maximum profitability. Part of that is project quoting and accurately estimating your projects and being able to take what you learned in the last project and transfer that over to the next project and the one after that and the one after that to continually hone your process so that it becomes a very accurate and efficient and profitable process. We'll talk about some time-saving project management tools. We are packed full of those tools. Again, that's the whole purpose of us existing. And then we'll talk about how we measure the success of the project, how we can project the possibilities, both good and bad, how we may be able to determine, gosh, we want to keep this project, or maybe we don't want these types of projects because while it may have lots to do and it may look really good, we may lose money on it. And I'd rather know that at the beginning of the process versus after we've gone all the way through and at the end of the project realized, gosh, we lost money on this. So we'll talk about how we measure success and how we measure against our projects and how you can see that measurement all the way through. So as we get in, we want it to do the work, or we want the software to do the work so you can actually get to the work that you do. You don't need to live in software, and that's not your job. If you're a professional services company, living in software is usually not your job. You're out servicing clients and doing your thing. So to be able to help with the scope of work, to help with discovery and figuring out consulting and how we're doing it, how we're measuring the milestones and how we are in production, do we have deliverables to go through, those kinds of things. Flexible billing, I don't think we've found two companies that do billing the same way in the years that we've been doing this. Everybody does it just a little bit differently. There are a variety of ways to do your billing, whether that's the retainer, the pay-as-you-go, the milestone, the percent complete. If you're in the construction or engineering or architectural business, it's the AIA billing if you're in the U.S. Now there's other things you can go through there. Flexible billing is a big deal. To give software the flexibility to do things the way you need to do it tends to be a big deal. So we want to make sure that we keep on track with that. Your staffing is something else that we're finding, especially as we get into where we are in the world today. Staff is very mobile, and sometimes it's tough to keep your staff because everybody's trying to find the staff that they need. So your talent pool, as it says here, you've got experts with some very specialized skills and capabilities. You need to know who they are. You need to know how I can put them on projects and how I can make sure I'm getting the right specialist on the right project at the right time. Do they have the right workload? Am I overloading specialist A? Am I ignoring specialist C? Those kinds of things. We'll show you tools that you can use to get through that. And then part of showing you those tools is that visibility. Traditionally, projects have a low visibility until the end of the project. And if that's a long-term project, that's a problem. And then you start tying in things from the accounting system like late payments or deposits or other things, and Some of the legacy systems don't give you enough resources to measure your profitability at the project level as you move through the projects. We want to make sure that we show you how you can do those kinds of things so that you are as informed and can make the most informed real-time decisions as possible in your projects. How do you sell your project? How do you quote your project? And why do you not want that to be a manual process? Lindsay, if you want to kick it to there we go. Why do you not want that to be a manual process? A manual process, if that's the way you're doing it today, we get there because that's how we've done it, and we have a good gut feel, and we talk to people who say, yeah, I don't need an automated quoting process or a structured quoting process because we have a great gut feel on how we do things. We know we're making money. No, you don't. You don't know until you know, and sometimes if you're doing it that way, you don't know till it's too late. So being able to gauge the profitability, to generate quotes based on real project data is a great big deal. So we give you the ability to take quotes based on past projects, whether that's past projects recently, or if it's an annual project, to be able to take the actuals from last year, build that into this year's budget, and be able to say, okay, this is how we did it last year. We know the costs went up or down or whatever over the year, and now we can move that forward to the next step and keep our quotes as accurate as possible. The other part that is the great gut feel is we hear consultants say all the time, well, I generally know how long it takes to do X. And a general timeline without accounting for all the things that go into the timeline of a project can really get things into a hornet's nest. So we want to be able to help you communicate clear project timelines based on your team, based on their capacity, based on their specialization, based on the things that are important to you, so that you can push that in project, keep your projects on track, keep your people as utilized as possible, be able to check the trends. Do I know that I need to staff up for the upcoming season, or staff down, or staff differently? Do I need more specialists because we're selling more projects that are this type versus generals, or however we're doing it? So selling and quoting, that's a big deal, and we're going to talk about how we can help you standardize that, automate that, and make that more consistent across the board. Project management becomes huge in all of that as well. As we started this process years ago of creating this product, we had people tell us, our big complaint in project management is it takes forever to manually create a project and then manually assign the personnel and manually assign the tasks and manually assign the contracts and do all of those things. And then again, manually communicating to all of the personnel all the things we just did. It's a manual process, it's cumbersome, and there's a huge opportunity for error in that, and we don't want that. So we came up with multiple ways to help automate that, whether it's an automated project task build out with task templates, templates that can be based on customer quotes, on previous projects, on a template that you create. Maybe you've got 6 different types of projects that you do. You can build those templates in and say, okay, for this type of a project, this is the way it generally works. However, there may be the need to be able to add a line, remove a line, add a new phase, those kinds of things. Certainly able to do that, and we make that easy. We actually have 2 project wizards, what we'll call a standard project wizard and a quick project. So standard project wizard takes what used to take an hour more to create a project and knocks the process down to under 2-3 minutes. In the quick project, you can create a project and assign resources to a standard project in under a minute if you need to. So to take the pain out of creating those projects and getting those projects into the hands of your personnel makes it quicker, makes it way more efficient, makes it standardized. So now everything is where it should be, and you're not reinventing the wheel every time we do something. And then routine notifications can be sent out when it goes through the process, so everybody's notified. So managing that project through the process, and we're going to talk about things like Gantt charts and burn rates and those kinds of things. Again, another big deal and another reason that we wanted to extend the functionality that Business Central offers. Next entry there is time entry. A manual process for time entry is, I'm just going to say it, it's a nightmare. Trying to estimate task times and then getting the team to actually put their time into either a spreadsheet that makes somebody else put it into another system, which causes the ability for delays and errors, and then the time's wrong and the invoice is wrong and the pay is wrong. It's a nightmare. Duplicate entry, working in multiple systems, and we already talked about the ability for discrepancies and errors, and it's time consuming for the personnel to find all of that. And again, just as we started this conversation, I don't want them to have to think their job is entering time. Their job is doing their job. The time entry should be quick, easy, and efficient. So if we can automate that, we will. So time logging functionality and automation in the tool to make it relatively effortless. So you can do that from your mobile device, from your laptop, from your desktop. It's device agnostic. It doesn't matter where that comes from. It can be from things like Outlook, and that's something that we'll show because that's very exciting to give people. Most people live in their Outlook, whether it be calendar or email, and to give them the ability to take an email and drop that into a time card and say, yes, I spent X number of minutes on this, put it to this project and cost it out against this task, and to not lose that time. That adds directly to your bottom line. You don't lose time, and you do get all of that time accurately tracked, and more importantly, accurately billed. So that's a big deal. And then because we're talking specifically about professional services companies, and even more specifically software and software development companies, we do have integrations into things like Jira and Azure DevOps and other things that can allow your development team to continue using the tools that they're using and still get that time pushed over into the project and accounting system without any intervention from the developers. Makes their life very easy. We talked about invoicing, and that's probably the key to most professional services companies is invoicing. If my invoicing's not right, then my customer's not happy, my consultants aren't happy, and in general, nobody's happy, and I'm not getting paid correctly. That's the exact opposite of what we want. So in the manual process, all of that pain comes back in. It's manual notifications across the board, whether it be internal, external, or both. Invoicing can be delayed. I'm shocked at the number of companies that we talk to that say they invoice 30, 45, even 60 days late because they can't get the data into their system. You're giving your customers money. I understand that that's the process we have to do, but you don't have to do it. If we can automate much to all of that and give your project management team the ability to say, okay, these things are ready for invoicing, somebody approve it and go ahead and invoice it, have it move immediately and directly into an integrated invoice system in Business Central, and then give you the flexibility to bill the way you want to bill, whether that is percent complete, whether that's doing it T&M, whether we're doing it on retainer, whether it is deposit plus, milestones, progress billing. We mentioned AIA billing earlier. Flexibility is the key because, as I said, I've yet to meet two companies who bill the same way. So however you need to do it, and then take some complexity on top of that. Maybe I have a project that is a fixed fee project, but inside that fixed fee, I've got a sub-project that may be T&M because it was an add-on or it was out of scope that was added in, whatever the case may be. Having the flexibility to do that will make your life easier and make your invoicing accurate, and that is the key. And then as we talk about partner, Velosio is the partner. Velosio is the creator of the solution. Velosio is the one solution, the one-stop shop. So you've got one solution that is your ERP, that is your project management, that is your invoicing system, that is your business intelligence system in one. And you've got one partner who knows it all and who works with you to extend that value, whether it's Power BI, the Power Apps that are out there, Power Automate that used to be called Flow. You have the ability to work with one partner, and in the business we often call that the one throat to choke. You have an issue, or you have a need, or you have a question, you've got one phone call to make, and it's not the pointing fingers, well, this, you got to talk to this person or that person or this person or that person. You don't have to do that. You've got one place for answers, one source of the truth. And that's one of the big values of using Velosio as your partner is they are the experts in this. They are a professional services company. They are a software development company. They use all of this on a daily basis. So that's a bonus there. But let's get into the product itself. So as we talk about the product, I want to introduce Tasha Anspaugh. Tasha is one of our solutions architect. She's our lead solutions architect on the professional services side, and she's actually going to show us all things that we just talked about. So Tasha.
I am inside of my Business Central instance. I am inside of a Progressus Role Center, which a Progressus Advanced Projects Role Center is specific to those project needs. So I'm logged in as a project executive, meaning I can do everything as a project manager would. I have access to everything that is project related. So with this, like Rich said, we have created Project Wizard. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to walk through creating a project with everyone. And I am going to use our quick project guide. This one will allow us to create a project quickly with only clicking through about 2 screens. So I can choose a number series for my project, or I can give it its own specific number. I go ahead, I go in and enter a description for my project. And then we're going to pick a project template. So these templates allow you to pick your posting groups. They allow you to pick the status of the project. They also allow you to set if it's a specific customer. You can pick all of this stuff, set it up beforehand, so that way all your project managers have to do is come in, grab this template, and it will autofill all of that important information for them. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to grab my TM project with no retention. And then we'll pick our customer from our standard BC customer list. Next, we're going to pick the project manager that we are assigning to this specific project. And then you can pick the person responsible. So not necessarily the PM, but maybe somebody else who needs to have access or who can make budget changes or approvals for the specific project. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And then the next screen that pops up are those dimension values. So what are my activity codes? What's my revenue stream? Current or my company code? All of those different dimension values that you have on inside of your Business Central instance. So now that I have all those, I just go ahead and hit finish. And now my project's been created. So at this point, I am ready to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And once I do, you'll notice I have my project. I have all of my tasks for this specific project. I am ready to go and I'm ready to start booking time for this project. One of those other pieces that Rich had mentioned is the ability to generate either a quote or your budget based on a project that you have done previously. So if I have this project and I know I have done this exact same thing previously and I want to use those actual values. So I want to look at another project and I want those actual usage entries to be turned into a budget for this project so I can get a little bit better of a feel of exactly what I was looking for. I can come in over here and I can actually use the copy from other project function. So this will allow me to say I want to copy either just the budget or I can copy that usage from my budget. I can also do dates, I can adjust the dates, and I can even bring over those task codes if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the project that I wanted to pull over the usage for, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And what that's going to do now is it's going to pull over my total budget, anything, all of that usage that I had previously on that other project. So now you'll notice I have some total budget costs. I have total budget price. All of these different fields have now populated because it brought over those actual entries and tied them in as my budget over here. You can also add budgets by a couple different ways. We could use a standard budget matrix if we wanted to just manually enter our own budget. So if I just want to come in, and I know that I need consultants on a project. I don't know necessarily who, but I do know that I need to add consultants to a specific project to be able to schedule them. I can come in, I can pick my resource group, then I can select who exactly I want to budget for. And then I can just go through and I can start putting hours on there. So if I know for sure I'm going to need 8 hours of consulting, I can tie that number in here, and now that's going to be budgeted for me to schedule my resources, the individual resources out once I get to the scheduling portion of my project. So I'm going to go ahead and go back, and you'll notice now I have some more budget costs. So that's one way of budgeting. There's also, we hear it a lot, project managers really like using Excel. We do have the budget journal, and it has that full integration with Excel. So you can actually publish your budget changes directly from Excel instead of having to try to import or copy and paste or any of those other manual type processes. You can automatically just publish those changes directly into your budget entries to make it a little bit easier for everybody. So now that we have our project, we have our budget, we are actually ready to start entering time for this specific project. So I'm going to go over, and we are going to go ahead and look at a couple different ways that you can enter time on a project and how you can get those usage entries to be billed for that project. We have current timesheets. So I'm going to go ahead and drill down into my timesheet, and you'll notice here it pulls up my timesheet window. I have all of these different project task lines that I have for my projects. I can come in, I can pick the date. If I tab over, I can pick the project number that I want to put on this specific timesheet. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to select from full list, and I'm going to look for that project that we have just created. So I'm going to go ahead and we are going to look for our project. It was 302, I believe. So we're going to look for this marketing campaign. And then I can select the task that I was using. So if I was, in my requirements gathering, I can select that here. If I need to enter a work type code, so if I need to enter, what exactly I was doing for different billing rates, I can select a work type code. And then I would just come in and enter my quantity. So if I did 5 hours for this, I can enter it. I can enter a description if I need to. And then all of the other information will populate on the line. And this is in a line view. There's also the ability to switch your timesheet to make it a little bit easier on yourself to look at it in a matrix view. So if I flip this over, you'll notice here I have all of my different lines. I have the nice Power BI report over here that's embedded that shows my timesheet actuals. I have all of my dimension values. And then also if I had any vacation or flex time available, those numbers would all show here as well. So that's one way of entering time on your specific project. So I have all of my projects and task information. But as we said, a lot of times you're entering time in your Outlook, you're living in your Outlook, you're sending emails, you're doing calendar meetings. So we've also added the ability to enter your time for these specific projects and tasks inside of your email. So I have this email here for today, and I want to tie this specific email and say that I spent an hour doing this specific task. I want to tie this to my timesheet. I can come in, click on the ellipsis, come down to my Business Central in Outlook. I'm going to go ahead and open up this window. And then from here, I can do the same thing. I can come in, I can enter my projects, I can enter the task and the amount of time for this specific project and what I was doing on this email. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a task code as well. I will enter the amount of time, so if I spent an hour, and then the description will automatically pull in from the subject of the email. You can add more to it, but it will just automatically populate that information for you. So once I do that, I can just go ahead and close that window out, and now that's going to show up on my timesheet. I have the same capabilities from my email. So if I'm on my email, I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. And here, this one is going to be an hour and a half long meeting that I was working on a specific project. again, I can come in, open my Business Central window. I can tie this to a project and task that I was working on. So I'll pick a different project. And then again, I can pick the task number that was assigned. And you'll notice this, the quantity will automatically populate based upon the duration of the meeting. So there's no need to go back and say, okay, you know, it was 75 minutes, it was 90 minutes. It will just automatically populate that quantity for you. The description, again, will pull in from the description or the title of the meeting invite. And then again, all you have to do, once all that information is filled in, you just go ahead and close that out. And now once we go back into our timesheet, after we refresh it, those lines should now be populated on our timesheets. So there's the presentation that we entered with the hour, and all of that information will pop up on our timesheets now. So once you submit your timesheets, there is a 3-layer approval process that you can put in place for your resources. And then after those are approved, that's when it becomes available to bill on a project. So with the billing, there's a number of different ways that you can bill, like Rich stated. And all of those billings, no matter how you're billing, whether it be a fixed fee project with time and material, a fixed fee project with milestone billing, or even percentage of completion billing, those are all going to show up in this Invoice Suggestion tab. So if I open up this guy, this is everything that's ready to be billed for my projects. So I have all of my project numbers here. I can see the total number that needs to be billed. I can filter this list by project manager, or if I was just a project manager, only my projects would show up in this pane. So I can easily see what needs to be billed, who do I need to schedule to send out these invoices. And then again, all of these invoices are going to be using the standard accounts receivable module inside of Business Central. So everything is completely tied together. There's no need to use 2 different systems or to push or pull billing information. We are already in our billing system for these projects. So I'm actually going to go back down to the bottom where we were, and I'm going to go ahead and open up this specific project because I do have billing that needs to be on here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this specific invoice suggestion. And here you can see that I have 4 lines. One is for a hotel. I have 2 different resources that need to bill time against this specific project. I already have a created document number for these. So I'm going to go ahead and we are going to go look at that sales invoice real quick. So we're just going to, again, search for sales invoice inside of Business Central. And then we are going to look for 371, which is that invoice. And here, this is my project invoice. So this, it has my project number on it. It has the project manager listed. It has everything on here that I need to bill to my customer. If you have approval workflows turned on inside of your Business Central for sales invoices, this will follow those same processes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to say post this sales invoice. If I say yes, it's going to go through, it's going to post it, it's going to create those accounts receivable lines for me. But again, if it was a situation where I had approvals, I would be able to submit it for approval, and then it can go through your standard approval process that you have inside of your system. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that posted sales invoice. And here, again, we are inside of Standard Business Central, that invoice screen. So there's no need to learn different screens or anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump into a project really quickly to that has a lot of information as far as billing goes and budget versus actuals. One thing I do want to point out on this list is this budget versus usage column. You can see here I have a couple different colors with the thresholds. So we have green, that means budget versus usage is good. We have red, that means they're not doing too well. So this project is clearly over budget. This one is yellow and it's on the verge of being over budget. So this just gives you a quick indication of what your project is doing without actually drilling into the project. But if we go ahead and drill into this one, you can see here I have project alert % and task alert %. I want to be notified when this project hits 75% of the budget. I can have it send me email reminders, or my project manager send email reminders saying, hey, this project or this task is close to being over budget. And that's all going to be set up with what you actually budget, and then it'll calculate that for you. So that way you're always going to have a quick view of if you're actually turning over budget or if you're close to it. Down here, I have quite a few columns. You'll notice you can see the difference. I have my total budget cost, I have the usage, and then I have the difference. So you can see here, I didn't have anything budgeted for this line. It is over budget here. This one, we're still under budget. There's just very good ways to see quickly where your project stands as far as budgeting goes. And I believe that was everything on our list that we wanted to show today.
Actually, I'm going to throw a curveball to you, and if you can't do it, that's okay. But one of the things that we talked about early on, and I kind of glossed over it, was many of our customers use the Gantt charting. What kind of options do we have for reporting and knowing where my personnel are, and if I have a specialist and need to assign the specialist, how do I get to that?
We have a couple different options on looking for at projects. So the very first thing we have is going to be our project Gantt charts. So we have the project Gantt chart, which will allow you to look at the specific projects, and that's just going to be the progress on the project. But we also have what's called a resource board, and that's more for the scheduling aspect of it. And that's going to be your resources and looking at those planning pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into resource planning. I'm going to go to my resource board. And inside of this screen, it's going to be completely interactive. You can drag, you can drop, you can move things around. I'm going to go back to a time frame when I had a whole bunch of entries. And here I can see all of my resources. They are all split up by the resource group that I have them tied to. So I can see here my admins. These are all the resources I have tied to be an admin. And it looks like I have 25 hours available for admin time. Tasha has not been utilized at all. She has nothing that's been used. However, I can see here that Bill Arden is negative 150 hours almost with what he actually has available. So when things like that happen, you can say, okay, Bill has been overbooked, but I need to schedule Tasha. I can drag those hours up, and now I have scheduled Tasha on those specific projects and tasks. You can go through, you can look at, let me edit this. We can change the status. So once a resource comes in, each individual resource will have their own board so they can see what they're supposed to be doing. They'll be able to come in and say, okay, I have this work planned, and it is either a normal, low, or high importance. So that way it allows your resources to kind of prioritize their days as well. So not only is this super important from the admin side and from the project management side, it's also really helpful for your resources, because then they can get in, they can plan their days, and then they can kind of itemize and tell themselves what's more important and what, can maybe possibly be pushed to the next day. Your resources will not have the ability to move the days on these unless you give them that permission, but they can change the priority. They can change the status, so that way they, have a better feel for what they need to do if they need to. If I wanted to come in here, I could put specific filters if I needed to look for a specific qualification. So let's say I need somebody that has Business Central experience to be able to work on this project where I have an implementation. I would be able to come in and set that qualification or that skill, and once I do that, it'll filter my list based upon what qualifications, what skills I have here. Again, I could just filter for a specific resource group if I needed to, and I can also search for a specific department or certain dimension values. There's lots of different filters, that will allow you to select these things, and that will just filter out this list for you. There is one other piece of this. So when we were actually budgeting on our project, we just budgeted for admin or consultants. Wasn't sure who, but that's where this comes into play. That's just going to throw those hours up here for this specific admin group. At this point, I can either drag them to an individual resource, or I can come in, I can say split and assign, and then I can actually pick a different resource. I can split the hours in half. I can pick a different resource, you know, whoever the case is, whoever I want to use for this. I would just go ahead, pick the resource. It's going to put in the group that they're assigned to, and then I can put how many hours. So if there's just 2 hours that I want to assign to Lorelei, I can say okay, and now she's got those 2 extra hours. So I still have 6 to split for another resource. So there is a lot of flexibility. This is for scheduling. You can look at this, you know, in a month calendar view throughout the month, so that way you can also plan out your month a little bit better as far as if you need to potentially get a subcontractor for a big project that you don't have a resource for, or if you need to specifically move resources around to try to compensate for something that needs to be handled right away.
Awesome. And then just to clarify, so because we've got multiple types of companies that skill those qualifications, those are unique to the company. So a software company may have a completely different set of company, and you set the qualifications as to yours. They don't come preset, and you have to stick to those presets, correct?
Correct. Everything in our system is customizable to you. The project categories, your qualifications, your skills, your resource groups, everything you set up for your business and your business needs.
Awesome. I had a couple of questions come in on this side. Did we want to, and I'll ask Lindsay if any other questions came in, and then we probably ought to show the reporting real quickly as we run out of time. We might want to show the Power BI reporting and some of the reports that are available. So any questions while Tasha thinks about that, Lindsay?
No, I think that sounds great. We can dive into the reporting and finish our time out that way.
Okay. So I did have, like I said, I had a couple of questions that came in on my side while Tasha was doing her thing. So as she pops up Power BI, I'll answer a couple of them. One of them was, you're talking about software companies. We have all of our developers do everything in a third-party system. Can I use that third-party system still, or do I have to make the developers go to a different system? No, you do not have to make those developers go over it in the first couple of minutes. We do have pre-built integrations as part of the system, not only generic APIs, but also pre-built specific integrations to both Jira as well as Azure DevOps, which are the two big players in the software development industry. So your developers, when they're working on their scrums and they've got their stories and all of those things, they continue to do everything they need to do in, let's just say, Jira. They do it in Jira, and it will automatically pick up that information from Jira and pop it over into their time card in the professional service. To do the integration is already there and pre-built, and that is both with Jira and Azure DevOps. Let's see. As I saw other questions that came through, the other question that came through, you mentioned expenses as part of the project. We use a third-party system and do expenses in that third-party system. Can we use this instead, or can we tie into that third-party system with this? So fantastic question, and the answer, as much as it sounds like a smart aleck answer, is yes. So we have expenses that are built in as part of the system. It's an extension of Business Central. So on your expenses, we have a full expenses module that's part of the system. You can do your credit card imports. You can do your expenses. You can have a similar approval process to your expenses as you do with your time entry, or a completely different approval process depending, and that's for employee reimbursable expenses. And that's part of the system straight up. You don't have to have any third party there if you don't want one. However, if you are using another third-party system, whether that be Concur or Gorilla or whatever, we do have a full API that's already built in, and you can use that third-party system and pull that information over into the professional services system. So if you already are using another third-party expense system, you don't have to change unless we do everything that it does straight out of the box, and we can save you some money without making a change of process. So the answer is yes, whichever way you want to go. And that is all the questions that I got. So Tasha, sorry, go for it.
That's okay. All right, so this is our Power BI dashboard deck. Advanced Projects comes with 13 dashboards pre-configured out of the box. All you have to do is connect your tenant information to them. You can add extra filters, you can customize them as much as you want to on your end, but this is what comes standard with the system, and it does work with the Power BI desktop version. So this is free. If you wanted to publish them up into the cloud, that's up to you, but this is for the desktop version. So with this, the very first one is going to be the Projects Overview tab, and this just gives you a quick breakdown of all of your projects, has all the projects, the statuses, and it gives you a really good look into your budget versus actuals, your cost, your price, and these are all interactive, so you can drill down, and when you do, it'll change all your other graphs to fit which project you're looking at. There is a drill through feature, so if you wanted to push this out, show it as a table, and just look a little bit more closely at the data as opposed to a graph, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our report real quick. And then we have our project details. So the project details will allow us to look at an individual project and the specific details for it. So if I wanted to look at this project ID here, I would just go ahead and grab that one. And you'll notice everything on this project is going to change. Everything on my dashboard changes. I can look at each individual task. I can look at the budget versus actuals for all of my tasks as well. And then up here, it'll show you my costs by task, and it'll show you the resources and everything else for this specific project. Project performance, just showing you where the project's at, really. You know, budget versus actuals, the cost. It also gives you your top 5 projects by margin, and then all of your projects as a whole you can look at as well. Project cost is pretty self-explanatory. That's just showing you where all your costs are coming from on these projects. So every project, what's the health of it as far as a cost standpoint, and then what do my cost budget to actual look like. Then the revenue, same, just flipped. You know, this is all my projects. This is all the revenue that's associated with those specific projects in the revenue. Then we get into more of the resource side of things. So this is all for specific project resources. So this is going to show me my top 5 employees by hours worked. It has my top 5 employees by profit. I can drill down, look at specifics just for those resources. I can drill down on Bill. I can see what he's been doing, his hours actual to budget, and just kind of get an idea of what he's actually been doing. Same concept with the resource planning. I have an availability heat map. This allows me to drill down, see where my resources are at. You know, are they utilized? Are they hitting, you know, their utilization targets? All of those different things will all feed right into here so you can get a better idea of what your resources are doing. The very last one that I really like to point out is the top and bottom rankings. So this will give you your top 10 projects and project managers, as well as those bottom 10 projects and managers. This is going to look at either profit, cost, price, hours, whatever you want to look at for that metric. So here I can see, you know, my top project for cost is this project number here, and then down here we can see, you know, my most expensive project is this one over here. Same concept with our project managers. I can clearly see who's the best at keeping costs to a minimum, and then down here who's the most expensive as far as costs to a minimum.
Awesome. Thank you, Tasha. And thank you for the overview. I think that if I went back through the slides that we started with, I think that hit everything that we started to. Now, as we said when we started, we're already a few minutes over our 45 minutes, and there's no way we could do a full systems overview in 45 minutes because we didn't get into the details of percent complete billing or progress billing or milestone billing or all the things that we talked about. So we are happy to go through that with you if we need to come back and do a more personalized and a more deep look with you and your business and the way you do things. That's why we're here. So please let us know. Lindsay, if she hasn't already, I'm not looking at the right screen, obviously. It will be popping up my contact information, Kasha's contact information. So please let us know how we can help. We are excited to bring this product to you. We're excited that you're interested in the product, and we'll take it from there. So I see we're there we go, having a little bit of technical
Sorry about that,
difficulty.
technical difficulties.
That's why I asked you to run the slide deck, because I'm terrible at it. There we go.
There it is.
There it is. There's my email address. There's my phone number. Feel free to reach out any way that we can help. We do also have a full YouTube channel. If you want to see some of this functionality in quick 3 and 4 minute videos, feel free to jump out there. And as I said, if you can't find something, let me know. We're happy to help.